Okay, I never thought this video title would become controversial, but I can almost feel the comments flooding with negativity as I write this script. I'm just kidding, no one watches my videos. But hear me out first. The Godzilla fandom isn't toxic. There, I said it, and I stick to it. So here's why I think so. When I first began to hear the flood of accusations that the Godzilla fandom was a toxic cesspool, I was shocked. In all my times as a Godzilla fan, I don't think I've ever personally encountered toxicity in any form. I'm sure that if I looked hard enough, I could find it because let's face it, a fandom is just an extension of the internet, and if you look hard enough, you'll find the most vile, disgusting, and insidious content ever. But I never thought of the Godzilla fandom as particularly toxic. I mean, we don't even have a major controversy like Star Wars does. And yet you will see far more videos calling the Godzilla fandom toxic than the Star Wars fandom. Now, to be clear, I'm not calling the Star Wars fandom toxic either, as my honest opinion is that Star Wars fans have a right to be upset that Disney has butchered all their beloved characters. Disney, on the other hand, I would certainly call toxic because they have a record of calling Star Wars fans who dislike their content racist and sexist. Not to say that there aren't racist Star Wars fans, I guess? I mean, I think it'd be pretty hard to be a racist Star Wars fan when there are such good characters as Lando Calrissian, Mace Windu, Saw Gerrera, and even Jolie Bindo, shout out to all my KOTOR fans out there. Or even sexist when there are such great female Star Wars characters as Leia Organa, Ahsoka Tano, Asajj Ventress, Bo-Katan, Bastila Shan, and many more. But when you're using racism as an excuse to avoid criticism, then yeah, that's toxic. But I digress. I have a point, however, in bringing up the Star Wars situation, and it's simply that the Godzilla fandom doesn't even have a controversy to make it look toxic. Sure, Dr. Skipper tried to create a false controversy by trying to invalidate the fun, adventurous, and goofy Godzilla movies, like the current MonsterVerse, but fans quickly dismissed that as someone trying to ride the -1 hype train by drumming up false dilemma. Honestly, I think we're a pretty chill fandom. Now, you may respond by bringing up the disgusting behavior which Godzilla Guy and Kaiju Kim pointed out in their videos, but I will counter with this. A fandom, any fandom, is a collection of humans who happen to like a certain thing, be it Godzilla, Iron Man, Luke Skywalker, etc. And that doesn't necessarily make these people good people. Well, all fandoms are like that, right? So what would make one toxic over the other? In my opinion, what makes a community truly toxic is if they encourage that kind of behavior. If they make people worse than when they became a part of that community. I think this can be applied to the internet generally because it's easier to dehumanize people when you can't even see their face or shake their hand. And that's the truth. Another group that can be toxic are the Germans who started World War II and their leader, because being a part of that group made them see their enemies as lesser than human. Also, I won't say the name of that particular faction because I'm afraid YouTube's listening right now. So, is the Godzilla fandom, notwithstanding its nature as part of the toxic internet, particularly toxic? No. Over the past few weeks, Godzilla fans, like Godzilla Guy and many more, have been up in arms over the toxicity of the Godzilla fandom, denouncing the villainy and correcting the perversion. And I think that it is these people, ironically the ones who would call the Godzilla fandom toxic, that prove it isn't. In the end, I think the Godzilla fandom as a community is a community that challenges us to be better, and whose leaders, those who have garnered a special respect as content creators, actually care. What's more, not only do I think that the Godzilla fandom isn't toxic, I actually think that in many ways it's beneficial. I've just recently come back from G-Fest and I had the best experience, and I met so many unique and interesting people, like fellow content creator Daikaiju Legends, the creator of the spectacular Zone Fighter series, through this fandom activity. Not only that, but it allowed me, and many more like me, an opportunity to share our creativity with you through the costume, art, and film contests. Ultimately, in a time of division like we live in right now, we really need something that unifies us. And even if that something is a fictional, giant, fire-breathing monster, I think that, in the end, sharing something even as simple as that can help us to see each other as human beings. I'll leave you with one last thought. There have been a lot of people who say they are going to leave the Godzilla fandom over this, and I would like to ask them not to. If all the good people leave, then the Godzilla fandoms will truly become as bad as people fear. And what's worse, if there are no good people left to challenge others' perverted behavior, that actually makes the internet more dangerous for innocent Godzilla fans, children especially, who just want to share their love of Godzilla movies with others. And by the way, to be clear, I'm not encouraging children to be on the internet. I would actually advise them to stay as far away from it as possible. But we all know they are, so we might as well try to make the internet, at least the Godzilla part of it, a safer place for them. I know I'm getting awfully preachy about a fandom who likes a giant lizard who shoots lasers out his butt, but this doesn't just apply to the fandom. It applies to any community. Sure, there are communities like those Germans who believe World War II is justified, who are, as a community, morally corrupt to the core, but what about our local community? If you abandoned your local community and didn't even try to better it, left it to the worst of us, then simply walking outside would be dangerous, and who wants that? Walking away is not the answer, for any community. By the way, I'm not saying that if you're in some kind of dangerous situation, you shouldn't try to remove yourself from said situation, but there are multiple ways of going about that. For instance, if you feel you're being harassed on the internet, then maybe just adopt a different identity. I mean, after all, JP Zill is not my real name. My friends, we must fight for the justice we want to see tomorrow. Thanks for hearing me out.